Hi guys, Tarantula90 here again, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've consistently been a fan of my entire life, and always been my favourite superhero, and as you may have guessed by the title, of course my favourite hero is the Incredible Hulk. It's something that has been shown for a very long time, from starting in 1966 as the first kind of adaptation of it shown on TV, and then obviously it's gradually changed up until obviously now being in the MCU. So without further ado, let's take a look at it. Nice. So the Incredible Hulk first aired on TV in 1966. It was kind of like a comic book adaptation of it, and it was quite weird, to watch it, but to kind of get a brief kind of view of what it was like, I'll play the intro.
Doc Bruce Banner, belted by gamma rays, turned into the Hulk.
Ain't he on glamour rays?
Wrecking the town with the power of a bull.
Ain't no monster clown who is as lovable
As ever-loving Hulk. Hulk.
So as you can see, it was definitely very interesting at the time. It was something that was really weird, because when you watch the show, you kind of saw that the kind of fun side of the intro wasn't kind of matched with kind of the Hulk's approach then, especially since in that instance, in the 1966 one, the Hulk did talk pretty much fluent English. So it was like they just showed it like that, which was quite amusing at times. But again, it was very, very weird. Obviously, it was 1966, so it was at the time very strange. But then, of course, moving on to the whole point of this video, in 1978, they showed the incomparable pilot to the most amazing version, to me at least, of the Incredible Hulk, and that was the 1978 first season of the Incredible Hulk. As you can see, I've got the the holographic version that changes obviously from him to the Hulk. I got this for Christmas, 2005 or 2006, and when I saw it, it just blew my mind. Not seeing the show, but actually getting it, because I forgot about it for so many years. And just to get it, people say, oh, it's a DVD, you got a DVD for Christmas, blah, blah, who cares? But, this was had such an impact. I watched some of this as a kid, not a lot, but, when it was on, I watched it and it just blew my mind. It's just so fantastic. And, from the pilot onwards, you just follow David Banner on his journey. Because the thing that is such a big impact for me is just how much it shows how, whereas you've got the animated versions of the Hulk and obviously the movie adaptations, being the big old superhero, but on this, yes, he saves people. Yes, he, if it wasn't for the Hulk, David Banner would have died in so many instances during the course of the 5 seasons of the show. But it really does show how much it affects his life. It shows how much he struggles with it, how much he does to try and stop it from happening. And it just, how him just trying to be the person that he is, such a kind guy, such a guy who just wants to help everyone and anyone, and it just gets him into these situations. And, if it wasn't for the Hulk, then he'd have probably died in so many instances. But that's what it means to me. It's like looking at any cartoon version. Yes, he's trying to get rid of the Hulk, but they really portray it as, he is a superhero, and obviously in the MCU, he's had such a weird journey. Because you've got the 2002 Hulk, which wasn't great, and then you had Edward Norton's Hulk, which was part of the MCU. Definitely better than the 2002 version because they had a lot of homages to this. But you know, it's just that. You know, it's just one of those things that happens. And then obviously you've got the Hulk ever changing in the MCU right now. You know, first seeing him in the first Avengers, and then in Age of Ultron. He just vanishes, and then you see him on Thor Ragnarok. And then you see him obviously in Endgame and Infinity War. It's just like, he's just taking on different personas. But for me, this will always be the best version of the Hulk that they've ever portrayed. So obviously in the first season you've got 12 episodes. The first 2 episodes are like an hour and a half to 2 hours long. Obviously the first one being the pilot, and the second one kind of counting as like the secondary pilot. And again, each episode is just obviously, he ends up in a situation, or, something else, something's happened in the town that he's in where, he ends up getting involved in it through the fact, he's got a job working with the people that are responsible, or working with people, who are related to what's going on. It's just very, very unique, and, it's like something that, again, you just think about everything that happens, like the iconic line of the Hulk.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
So, you know what I mean? It's just like, that there just cements everything. When you think about this, in every situation he ends up in, that is just a clear factor of it all. People don't know what they're in for. So, the first season only had 12 episodes, so it obviously was this starting block, and then obviously it moved on to season 2. Again, starting with a pilot, like another 1.5 to 2 hour pilot. He ends up in Hawaii. He goes to see a doctor that maybe can help him. And it just turns into like a really interesting story, really amazing story. I won't give too much away, especially if you've watched it. If you have watched it, you know what I'm talking about. But no, it's just absolutely fantastic. Like, I think on the second season, I was like, before I started watching it all, I'd seen more episodes from this season than any other season. But you look at all the episodes that they're going through the entirety of the show, and you think, some of them, obviously there are a list of like so many fan favourite ones, some of the best ones. But yeah, it's, as you go on every time, it's just more and more good stuff happens. Like, in season 3, it's just like, there's an episode where he gets invited he plays chess with a guy, and turns out the guy's a really rich guy. He's got his own island, and the guy invites David back to the island just because he's a good chess player. So he can then fly him back to where I think he was going to Miami. So he takes him back to his island, and they play chess and they eat. And what happens next is for you to find out. But some of the jobs he ends up with, like on the first episode of this, he ends up being like a guy holding the motion thing for a microphone, to catch the sound. On the very first one, working with like a rocker, which is pretty cool. And then there's just loads of other episodes that go through this, and it's like so many different things happen throughout each season as it goes on, that you just think, if you couldn't be impressed, if you weren't impressed before, you definitely are now. And that's what it is. You just see so many things go on. Like, then there's one where it's like ends up driving around a 16-year-old. Well, he doesn't know she's 16, but drives around the 16-year-old. He's like a child prodigy. She's so smart, and she runs away from this institute she's in, and she, kind of convinces David to help her out, and it's just like, it just turns into a weird road trip, which, again, amazing episode. And then, like, you go to, like, series 4, and you have episodes like Prometheus, which is the first couple of episodes, which are, again, amazing episodes. So, not to give much away, but, like, it's such a crazy episode of the first 2, because it's like a meteor is heading to Earth, and it crashes, and the radiation that it gives off actually makes David stuck between the Hulk and him, which is really weird. And it's like the way they filmed it as well was really kind of strange, because they keep switching bits between obviously the Hulk being Lou Ferrigno and him being Bill Bixby, but obviously between being the Hulk and and David Banner, So, and then there's loads of ones like I'm trying to think of another one. Well, you've got like ones where he's in trying to do like an injection. He's just living with his family, and he's giving injections to try and find a way to suppress the Hulk, but it triggers some sort of primal thing in his brain. So he kind of almost changes personality to where then the Hulk changes personality, and everything becomes really strange. But again, definitely one of the best episodes. And one of the other best episodes is Bring Me the Head of the Hulk. Now that's like an episode where a reporter, because he's always being followed by Jack McGee. Like you saw in the famous line, Mr. McGee is always chasing him, no matter where he goes. Every time, nearly every episode you see him, he's always around. But there ends up being another reporter that actually pretends to be Mr. McGee, and he actually, when he sees David, he actually knows that it's David Banner. So he knows that David Banner is not dead. He didn't die in the explosion at the lab at the beginning. He didn't do all of these other things. So, that's what's going on. So then it ends up being a whole thing that he talks about everything that's happened, and everything else is just history after that. But it's so incredible, no pun intended. It's just so great. Every episode you watch is just so amazing that it just makes you think, how can they improve on it? How can they get better? And they do it all the time. They keep using different things. But yeah, it's so cool. And then you come to the 5th and final series of the show. Now, this only has 7 episodes because, due to the rising costs, it's costing too much money to make it, and the ratings were getting lower as each season went on. So even though the episodes were great, like a lot of people were kind of shutting off from watching it. So this only ended up having 7 episodes. And that was it, cancelled, done, finito. And that's what they did, they left it so, obviously they ended it where there was the 7 episodes, but there was no, like, finality of it all. They didn't finalise the show in any way because obviously they cancelled it. So you have, on this you have episodes where it's like, he's working as a delivery driver, and 3 women choosing to break out of prison, and they end up in the back of his truck, and so that becomes a thing. And then there's like, then you've got like an episode where a town has been evacuated due to like a supposed E. coli outbreak. And it's just everything's just again episodes that you've never seen before. But again, you don't know what's going to happen because, again, it was cancelled. Nobody knew anything about it after that. So in 1982, that was it. It was over. Which thus began the 1982 animated series, which came out. And again, I like that. That was pretty good. And then the 1995 series came out, which again was really, really good. But realistically, it just wasn't, to me, it wasn't the same, because obviously this was something that's very important to me, and it was like going, okay, well, it's something that was always there, something I would always watch, and, and then moving to 1988, of course, they released the first movie, which is The Incredible Hulk Returns. So, think it's 1988, and it's been 2 years. So based upon that gap of the year, you'd obviously know nothing that's happened in that time. But then once you start the Returns movie, you find out that he hasn't changed into the Hulk in 2 years. you know, he hasn't changed into the Hulk at all. You know, his life's been normal. He's been able to live his life. You know, he's had no one chasing him. No one's trying to find him. He's just, you know, 100% free from everything. And then that was it. You know, and then obviously he introduces introduces Thor into this one due to an old student that comes to visit Dr. Banner, because he knows him from years and years ago, and obviously he brings Thor into the universe, and then it all just kind of goes on from there. But probably my favourite movie, because it's out of the three, it's probably my favourite movie just because it's so much like the TV show. Because if we move on to the trial of the Incredible Hulk, you know, it introduces Daredevil. And I think that's the problem, because like this was where Bill Bixby started directing, you know, so he directed the movie, and you know, it was like he said, you know, it's, and not he said, but in general, it's just like, it feels like it focuses so much on Daredevil that you forget that, you know, it is about the Hulk as well, you know, so it's like you're watching a movie, another Hulk movie, but it's so focused on Daredevil, it just feels like it's not great, you know, it's not as good. So, you know, so I'll always prefer Returns over the Hulk, the trial, but like, you know, with the trial, with him being arrested, hence what's called the trial, and, you know, it's, all things happen in it, and it's just, again, you know, without spoiling it, it's just, again, not as good, but it's still enjoyable for what it is, for its time. And then, upon the year of my birth, we ended up with the death of the Incredible Hulk. Sadly, this was the last interpretation of the Hulk for this era of the Hulk, this adaptation of the Hulk. You know, terrorists are trying to get hold of this formula from the doctor that works in the same place that David works in as a janitor, and you know, then you find out that David's trying to, obviously working in the lab, like secretly, to try and obviously again cure the Hulk, and ends up with the terrorist stuff, and you know, and that's it. You know, as the title suggests, that is the end of the Hulk. Move the clock forward of 3 years. Unfortunately, Bill Bixby is battling cancer, and because of that, and due to the fact that Death of the Incredible Hulk got low ratings, they decided not to do the next movie, which was going to be called The Revenge of the Incredible Hulk, which was not only going to be... No, they didn't do it just because of Bill Bixby's health declining, or, you know, not just because of the low ratings, but it was because also that Bill Bixby, as he was being resurrected back as David Banner, obviously, in the movie, he was never going to be able to change into the Hulk in that movie. Like, he was just going to be David Banner. You know, he was going to lose the ability to change into the Hulk. You know, he wouldn't have that ability once he was brought back. So, you know, who knows how that would have gone down? You know, who knows how that would have worked out? Because it's something that, you know, always be an unanswered question. You know, how would they have done the Revenge of the Incredible Hulk if Bill Bixby hadn't been dying? Or, you know, if the death was better than it, you know, was as rated by people. But again, for me, I've always been under the impression that, you know, it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. You know, it's something that I just wish we had seen, and they had done, but sadly, unfortunately, we lost Bill Bixby. The way he portrayed David Banner as well was just so... You know, you felt like you were going on that journey with him. It was such an impactful thing that it just makes you... It makes you really sad, you know, and it does kind of... It does kind of make you think as you watch it, you know, especially at the end where you think, he's been on this journey for so many years to try and rid himself of the Hulk. You know, he doesn't want it. Yes, you know, it's a superhero in a superhero universe, but it's also such a burden on his shoulders. And there's one episode which is a two-parter in season 4 called The First, which is one of the best episodes they ever released for that. And let me tell you, when you watch that episode, they are definitely two of the best episodes of the entire series. So I do recommend you watch it. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of it if you've watched it. If you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, also let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about it in general. And as always, guys, leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe down below for more content. And until next time, guys, take care of yourself.